Hey, everybody. I cut that clip before the uproarious applause. I apologize. Every time I use a clip from Jeff, I'm always tempted. Like I lose track of the fact that I'm going live here in a minute, and I reach over like I'm going to turn it way up, crank it. Because anyway, that's why I use it all the time. That's the people throwing hearts into the stream already. It's great to see everybody. Thanks for being here today. 5 Watt Live is brought to you again with my good friends from TrueFire, and I will talk about TrueFire in the middle of the stream. BB Ninja is here, and BB is like hanging back because everyone is a regular. Man, I'm looking at the stream. Scott Bogfoot. We got people from Newfoundland. We got people from Hawaii. We got people from Victor from Hawaii says, crank it up. Exactly. BB Ninja's here moderating, and always great. And if you have questions, where I'm sure he will correct us if needed in the stream. Today, that music, as I said, was Jeff McElwain playing one of our own Stratocaster Saints, playing a last couple of minutes of his tune Highlands from the Umbria Blues Festival a few years ago. I put the link. I actually said I would put the link in my notes. I have put the link for the entire 7-minute performance. It is a great lesson in Stratocaster tone. He's playing his Tuttle. Jeff can tell us what he was playing through, but the fact is he just gets this incredible range of dynamics, and you could hear the sound of the hall. It's just great. The recording is his friend Hermano. Yeah, I think Hermano. Jeff's in the green room. He's giving me the big nod. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful recording. And everybody here after this should go watch it. Okay. I wanted to, today we're going to talk about the reactions to the recent video I made on the top 20 Stratocaster players that changed the world. First thing, I just need to cover this. I know that the title That Changed the World is a slight exaggeration. I have a master's degree in sociology. I know that the guitar playing isn't going to change the world for the globe, perhaps, but it certainly can change the world for an individual. And if you're, I have editor's brain. Did I tell you that already? No, I didn't, because I have editor's brain. I've been editing the B15, Ampeg B15 short history video for 2 days now. And when I'm doing that, I have a little bit of a brain fog. So I apologize in advance, but I have an expert here. I have a ringer. All right. So I do want to have it. As I said, I know the title's a bit of an exaggeration. I will continue to exaggerate in the sake of being viewed. As one of my authors said, I think I am justified in wanting to be read. I am justified in wanting to be viewed. So I will use titles that I think start a conversation. And the other thing is, you probably noticed I have a new colored light behind me here. Is it too pimpin'? What do you think? Maybe that's even politically incorrect to say that. Is it too, RJ's a friend of mine. Is it too RJ Ronquillo? I turned it up. Hold on. There. Now we're talking. I feel like I'm in a nightclub in Miami. Okay. With the plant. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, you know what? I'm going to turn it over to Jeff because I'm wandering. All right. People are already jumping in and telling me what we should be talking about within the stream. We will do that. But first, our resident Jeff was changing his title as we went live, as we were talking before. And I said, stratologist sounds like a branch of medicine that's below the waist. Stratologist.
Well, it kind of is, right?
Well, it depends on the player.
If Warren, if my Angus is here, can you see my belt buckle? Yes, you can. You can see it above the guitar, not below the guitar.
You're on my end. You're louder than me,
but as it should be. I'm happy to turn down. Let me know.
As it absolutely should be.
Am I too loud? I'll turn down.
No, they'll say.
No, let me know. I'm happy.
The left eye is here. We got San Diego in the house. He says Jefe. I try not to use languages I don't know what they mean, but thank you. All right. So what I thought we would do today, since we have our own resident stratologist, Stratocaster saint, and all around nice guy, Jeff here with us. I thought I would first, for everybody, let me review the list. Just Playing Bass says the sound's balanced. So that for the two of us, that'd be amazing. Bebe says LAT. Is that like producer speak?
I have no idea.
Bebe, what is LAT?
All right.
Airfire says I'd be better turned up. Well, I guess it's nicer to say that than turned down. I'll bring the mic in a little bit. Okay, so Stratology, that's right. I'm going to go through the list. I can't promise not to stop on our way.
Okay.
On some of them, because Jeff had something to do with the list, but he's not responsible because he's a guitarist. He's not
that smart. I'm not.
He had input,
smart.
but he's not responsible for some of these. I don't think we need to say anything. So autocorrect, Bebe says. Okay, all right. We're living in a modern age. Number 20 was George Harrison. I think some people were surprised because he didn't appear with the guitar very often. I really enjoyed the number 19, Mike McCready. I like it for two levels. One, it recently came out that Mike McCready's 1959 Stratocaster is in fact a 1960 Stratocaster, and people wanted to talk a lot about that. And the other part was he was inspired to have a 59 by Stevie Ray Vaughan talking a lot about his own 59, which was actually, I guess, parts of a 62 and a 64 with 1959 pickups in it. So Stevie always talked about it like it was a 59. So I love all the messiness of the McCready entry. I jumped ahead. I was going to have Jeff do his treatise from the Les Paul video. Who's important, why? Because it is a context for this entire conversation.
Right.
Jeffrey.
It's all opinion. And I think one thing that was really important that we talked about, which is, I mean, these things are just for fun. People get so incensed, you're like, dudes, it's talking about guitar players. I think one of the most important things that I've discovered, people will say, like, when we talk about, we'll get to like someone like Buddy Holly, like, what, it depends on what year you were born and when you witnessed these things. So if the first guy you saw playing a Strat was John Mayer, and that inspired you to get into Strats, then he's the guy who, was the most influential. So people talk about this stuff all the time. So it really comes down to, I think, how old are you? How old are you? What were you doing at that point in time? So like the Beatles for Ed Sullivan was a ton, people. I was too old for that. I'm too young for that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm just too young for that.
Right.
Yeah. Just.
Yeah. Was that my treaty? Was that it?
Hmm?
Was that it? Was that what I was supposed to?
You don't know when you're done with your thoughts?
I can't remember. Somebody posted Hank Marvin. Hank Marvin is a perfect example of the generation prior to me.
Well, one of the things I would say, and
what country you grew up in.
Right. I was just going to say. So the other thing is the channel's current demographic statistics are 52% US, 9.4% UK, the greater. Don't yell at me, boys and girls.
I'm out.
I don't know where Ireland is in there. I don't think it's included in that statistic. I've been prostised about prostised. No, now we're back to waste. Yeah, no.
I've been continent
chastised.
Yes, yes.
I've been spanked for that. So anyway, but again, Gallagher. People correct my pronunciation. So let's just go back to the list. That was a good speech. I like that. That's good talk. Yeah. How come you have a Strat kind of as a security thing, don't you? Don't let us keep you from
just drinking my kombucha. I'm just showing off. Just showing off. That's all. I had it up for. I thought it would look nice. You could, it's a little prop. It's a prop. I don't have to.
I stepped out of the room, boys and girls.
Let me put it down.
Hold on a second. I'm going to put Jeff. I'm going to feature Jeff here.
Yeah.
And there we go. I don't know.
It's a good prop, right? So, yeah, I think it works. We're talking about Strats. Good to have one in camera. All right, I think Keith went away. So it's just me. What happened to Keith? I don't know what happened to him. I think he disappeared. There he is. Okay. I got panicked for a second. Suddenly it's a Jeff show.
You're a professional. You could just
no. If I knew it was for me, man, I would just
riff.
jettison you right away and just start.
You would have just turned the guitar on and you'd be playing, and I'd come back 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
All right.
All right. So I think that is the ultimate point that Jeff made is, and it's going to be in the background of everything that we talk about, that we go through this list. There's people on this list. Let me also talk about, there are people on this list who, I worked with a number of people. Jeff was really helpful. Rick was really helpful. Rick's brother, John, was tremendously helpful. Rick basically said, don't ask me, ask John. And then at the last minute, Rick was, correcting my order of my top 10. I literally, I don't know if I said this last time, at the last week or something, Rick called, I talked to Rick frequently, and he called, and I was just about to go film. It was like that morning, a Monday morning, a Tuesday morning. And I was going to go downstairs and film. And he goes, well, what do you got for your order? And I read the order to him, and he goes, is it too late to fix that? I'm like, I think it'll be okay the way it is. He goes, well, then it'll be okay the way I want it to be. But like you said, it was just for fun. They're just for fun, despite the huge title. It is just for fun, and we had fun doing it. And I'll be doing more of these. You can see them coming.
I do think it's a pretty solid list. I think you covered.
Yeah.
Well, anything after that is just like, well, what about everybody on there is, is the guy, So,
a buddy guy, like I said in the video, this started a lot of other people to play strats, important people in the top 10. Robin Trower. See, now Robin Trower could be, when speaking of Robin Trower and big headstocks.
No, Angus was like, is that the original string tree on the Strat? Can you get a close up? And that is, I guess when somebody filled this in,
Hold on, let me see if I can just zoom in on.
Here's my string tree. It's got the cigarette burn, so it's.
You did that after you got it.
Yeah, that's what I did, just to make it look older.
Just to get your ultimate.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, I mean, to get the cigarette burn, it kind of has to be a filterless cigarette, right?
I guess.
To burn all the way down.
No, it's true.
Right? You got to be smoking Luckies to boot. So, yeah.
Seen a lot of miles since 1968.
Angus says, thank you.
You're welcome, Angus.
So the Hank Marvin thing, we touched on that already. Huge. And I actually enjoy it. I say so, and I mean it. I enjoy it when people add additional things. That it was Cliff Richard who actually said to Hank Marvin, I need to buy you a better guitar. What do you want? And he showed him the catalog, and he was like, oh, that's nice. And it's right on the cover. It's actually the guitar on that cover is a red Strat with gold hardware, exactly like that, with a rosewood board. So I was never a Little Feat fan, but I understand everybody I like who currently plays slide always talks about Lowell George. Yes. You ever listen to them?
No. And then people like, you've never, and they get outraged.
That's what I was trying to get people going here. Yeah.
And I get outraged. I'm like, I don't know, it just wasn't in my wheelhouse at the time. I mean, it's great, but if it's not your kind of your jam, so to speak, I can appreciate it. Like, some people love, people love the Grateful Dead.
Yep. I mean, as long as in your jam.
Yeah. I just, what I'm saying? Like, Yeah.
So some of the people on this list are not people that this is not like I said last time, it's not Keith's place. It's not my list of people who were influential to me. That would be even less interesting and less profound, probably. Except for me, it'd be a video that I made for me. I'm not interested in that. I'm actually, the exercise of creating the big list wasn't hard. Obviously the real list work was first getting it down to 20, and then getting the order. I probably spent, it's funny, I thought this video would take less time because there's smaller little bites, little sound bites about each person. No, I spent all the extra time that I would have spent editing the list, the order, how much I was talking about each person relative to where they were on the list, and all those kinds of things. So
we did find this when, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take credit. When we discussed your list, I found it was much easier to do than a Les Paul list.
Well, I screwed up the Les Paul video because I used only 10.
Right, but still, what I mean? Like, I think, it was for Strats, I think it felt easier to me than the Les Paul list.
I agree. No, I agree. Yeah. Well, and I also think, I mean, you're into that whole, there are more straight up guitar heroes playing Strats.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you know, with the exceptions of the top 5, you know, of the other video, for sure, all Guitar Heroes. But and I'm sure the feed is going to heat up with people like, I started playing guitar because of Ace Frehley.
Sure.
Great. That I'm not taking away anybody's history. God knows.
Right.
But at the same time, I see. I find it so distracting when people correct me. Alexander Gardner says Hank picked the Fender from a black and white brochure. He wasn't sure about the color until it arrived. Well, the first color front catalog for Fender, was it 58 or 59? We should call, let me use a lifeline and call Zach Childs. But that's interesting. I didn't know that. I thought that was right off the cover. So see, that's why you guys are here, to keep me halfway honest. So let's just rip through the list. And then, you know what? I'm going to go back over here and talk about folks that people love that didn't end up on the list. And really, it's going to come down to the video could only be so long.
Right.
Well, John Frusciante, again, not a band that I'm really into, but I understand from, frankly, people who seem to really love John Mayer also were influenced by Frusciante to play Strat. Mm-hmm. Like there's enough overlap in the timeline, right?
Age.
Yeah, age, right. Yeah. Roy Gallagher. I was, working on this list, and the guys at Guitarist Magazine got access to Gallagher's guitars and amps in the last couple of months. So that was very timely, really cool. Now we're getting into some people that Jeff can speak to more than me. Richie Blackmore was never a big influence on me. Well,
I'm clutching my pearls.
Angus is
just
spitting his beer wherever he is.
He's not painted. We should have him on here to see him go.
The same way I feel, the same way he feels every time I try to pronounce Malmsteen's first name.
Yeah. Yngve.
Yngve.
No, Yngve.
Yngve. All right.
Anyway, that's his version he goes by.
Yeah. Well, I did actually, when I was listening to these guys when I was doing the work on this video. And the coolest thing was I wasn't aware of the classical influence that then rolls up into Yngve.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that was the connection, and that was
really rough. Yeah. And Cretans. Angus is Cretan.
Well, at least he made it plural.
Yeah.
He threw you right in there with me.
I know. Our girl wasn't a Blackmore. No.
I'm not a Cretan. Why are you saying that about me? Right.
Yeah.
I'm doing my Ozzy impression. And then Mark Knopfler. Mark Knopfler was the first person on this list who, besides George Harrison, because I grew up listening to the Beatles. My father was listening to, Abbey Road particularly. I remember that being such a huge record in my household. But Knopfler was like the first one where that bridged my high school to college for me. It was endlessly listening to that record over and over and over again. And the thing that got me was when I found out that he was, because this is pre-internet, obviously, way, way pre-internet, that I found out that he wasn't using a pick. I'm like, how is he getting that sound? How is he getting that sound?
Yeah.
You want to do a little piece for us? No, I'm kidding. No. Okay. All right. And then the honorable mention group, Rycooter.
Strats, just what we're talking.
You're getting warmed up for the...
I'm changing Strats while we're talking.
Well, that kind of disappears.
Oh, hold on. Right.
Yeah. Get one that shows up on camera. I think the red wins hands down on camera.
All right. Well, that's pretty good too, man.
Oh, that's pretty good. There we go. Because we're going to need that one in a minute.
Yeah.
So Rycooter, on a technicality, I think you probably could have argued if it wasn't for the pickups and the mods, you probably could have put him in the Lowell Georgia slot. Curtis Mayfield, that was an easy one for me. There's a lot of people that I like that talk about Curtis Mayfield. And then, of course, the Hendrix thing that we come to at the end. Now,
this is
Buddy Holly. There were two people that everybody thought should be higher on the list. And that was Buddy Holly. And we were talking about this before we went live. I went back and I watched his performance on Ed Sullivan of Peggy Sue. Are you texting? Are you texting?
No, I'm just doing something really kind of cool, which to your Rycooter thing. I predicted this. You can take me off camera. It looks rude. I'm not. It looks like I'm being rude. I am. Okay, well, I'll get to it. It's a picture of me playing the Cootercaster, the real one.
The one?
The one, yeah, they had it. He was selling it for a while. I don't know if anybody bought it. It was at Retrofret here in New York.
I was going to say, I understood that Retrofret sold that guitar for him.
Yes, and I went and played it. So there is a picture of me, but like
They
my
didn't film
iPhone
you?
pictures, it's like a million of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, it's not that important.
Victor Beebe says Jeff changes his security strat.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I actually had some comments that I thought were borderline sexist around her, like that I would have women in the list seem troublesome to people. And for that, I wish I could say I'm sorry, but I'm not.
About Bonnie Raitt, come on, like she's amazing. Like Bonnie Raitt too. It's a fantastic guitar player.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. Right. Yeah. Right. Same thing. The thing with me with Bonnie Raitt is I've seen her live a few times, and I just want a whole set. I just want like even a mashup of classic blues tunes where she actually just plays guitar.
Yeah.
I want to hear her play guitar. I want to hear her crank up the bad cat, step on the rat pedal, do whatever she's currently doing to get that liquid kind of thing. Yeah. Great sound. Great sound. I don't think we actually have to spend time on anything in the top 5. The top 5 is always the classic. These could be in any order, like any of these. People said that, Buddy Holly or Hank Marvin was their number 1, or that Mark Knopfler was their number 1. And that makes perfect sense. There's absolutely as we said, this is all in good fun. It's good to share. It was really, really good. So
I feel like the top 5 was pretty much everybody's top 5 generally.
Yeah, actually, we got a lot of comments that said the top 5 was straight on. Yep.
Yeah, right. Hendrix top.
You could change. Yeah, everybody said it's kind of like the Jimmy Page being number 1 on the Les Paul video. They're like, well, that was a foregone conclusion. What are you going to say after that?
Exactly. Yeah.
People stop watching.
Yeah.
The curve.
Right.
Yeah. People are like, okay, I'm done now. Anyway, so a lot of people talking to each other. Remember, if you want to get my attention, put the 5 watt at 5 watt world in front of it. It pops up on my screen in orange. The other one that we're going to talk about before we go and spend really half the time going through comments and talking about stuff that people want to kick in here is Dick Dale. So ahead of my time. Yeah. Honestly, when I think of Fender history, people said a lot about him, using really big strings, and he's left-handed. I always think of him as being a big advocate for increasing volume, that he would consult with Leo about amplifier design. Mm-hmm. That's my Fender nerdery, thing kicking in on Dick Dale. I couldn't hum you a Dick Dale thing. So that's me. That's me.
I think, with Miserlou, with Pulp Fiction, that was the big, right. Revival of Dick Dale. I didn't know, I knew the name, but, in terms of, I think you're talking about the kind of music you like. And I think this is where the top 5 comes in, where you're like, well, yeah, Hendrix,
right,
Clapton,
yeah,
Jeff Beck. I think
I'm working on a script and a video. I sent it off to Mike Ball at Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar in Seattle. Mike's a surf guitar guy. He's been playing bass in a surf guitar band forever.
Right.
So when I checked in with him on the script and how's things going, he's like, "Really? You're going to talk to me? You didn't put Dick Dale on the list, and you're going to call me?"
Yeah, right. We're not friends.
He's laughing the whole time, but he's wearing a bowling shirt and his hair slicked back when he did it.
Right. You're like, oh, I shouldn't have known. Right.
Yeah, I know who I'm talking to. Exactly. Right. Anyway. All right. So we covered those. All right. Now I'm going to slide back into the comments here, and we're going to do some of the at 5 watt worlds comments. Yeah, this would be good. We got all the regulars. God help us for the comments.
No fighting, guys.
Exactly. All right. Way back to the light comments, Christopher Butler says the shirt is giving off its own glow. This shirt is kind of giving up the ghost. It's getting faded. Okay. Levels are good. Let's get to some. David Cromwell says, "How dare we have fun?"
Oh yeah.
The channel.
This is very serious.
David has a point.
Very serious.
I'm gonna stop here. It doesn't have an at 5 watt world in front of it, but Jack Lee says Michael Landau. So this raises a really important point. I kind of touched on it when I was talking about Jeff Beck. Everybody's heard Michael Landau, but they don't know where. There are so many recordings, so many records. He's a guitarist. If you want to have a sense of who are guitarists, go into my guitars of and look at how many views like John Mayer has versus Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson is a guitarist, and he just doesn't have the number of views. And maybe people think he's always had that one Strat because he's always plays the two-tone 50s Strat, but there's all this history. The other kicker here is, who would you take out of the list to slide Michael Landau in? Or would you have me do 20 honorable mentions? It's like I said, in the end, you got to decide how long the video going to be. I think one of the biggest thing is the issue of who do you make room for?
Right. Well, I mean, Landau's one of my favorite guitar players of all time.
Right.
I would venture to say he would be like, what am I going to do on that list? You know what I mean? In the sense of, we probably humble. I've met Mike a few times and stuff, but he's, like he's a fan of everyone else. And I think we're talking about, like I said, he's a guitarist, like Steve Aluka's there. Yeah, he's amazing. Guitarist, so I think a lot of those guys fall into that category. I agree. I mean, Landau is a great Strat. He's a great Strat guy, but he's not, I think, one of the people who influenced. I think we're talking about people who influenced like a generation of people. Like, exactly. I mean, he's got his own line of guitars at Fender, and he's doing great. And and I actually own two.
But you've modded them so they're less Landau.
I have, yeah. They both were just, he likes the same. I like the same specs he does.
Right.
So 7 1/4 big frets.
Yeah.
And that's when you get a custom shop that's 7 1/4 big frets, you're like, oh great, perfect.
Yeah. Right. Our buddy Jeff Harper brings one up that's worth it, and the one underneath it too. He says Ed King from Leonard Skinner. Ed King, yes, Sweet Home Alabama, sure. Position 2. But the fact is, I think of Ed playing lots and lots and lots of different guitars.
Yeah,
and I really didn't make room in the list for people who weren't primarily known as a Strat guy or gal.
Right. I mean, of course, Sweet Home Alabama, and I know a little, right? That's him on that, right? Totally Strat thing. Great guitar player, but yes, is he influential? He's definitely in the honorable mention in my mind. When you think about guys who pop in your head, and I could, even if I talk about more modern guys playing Strats, it would be, someone like Angus or John Fusanti. If you're talking about famous people, like who's a guy who's known for playing Strats? He's got an old Strat that's part of the image when you think of him, and I think that's a big part of what we're.
Yeah, we're talking about impact. And did people want to sound like him? Did they want to go out and buy Strats because of him and sound like him?
Right.
I don't. It's not this isn't a NAMM poll or anything where it's like, it's not about the music merchandisers, but in the same sense, if a whole generation runs out and buys a Stratocaster because, well, like people are arguing that Buddy Holly, did.
Right.
If they're not from, even if they're not from Lubbock, they want to.
Well, it's funny. Like my son, it pains me. I know a little with Steve Gaines, right? Thank you. I knew it was, I was wrong. I knew that as I was saying it, I wasn't sure. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Steve Gaines. Thank you. I always get that wrong. He doesn't, pains me. He doesn't know anything between a Les Paul or a Strat, but when I got the Flying V, he's like, oh my God, you got a Flying V. That was like the only thing that he said. That's the coolest guitar ever. I'm like, all right,
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
You have it there?
The Flying V?
Now we wouldn't bring it on this show, but
it's right over there. It's off camera
for a future episode, right? The next one, actually, the very next comment is Mike Gamby says Dave Murray from Iron Maiden. We talked about Dave Murray, but we did humbuckers back in the day when he was making all those records. It was humbuckers in a Strat, and
it was Paul Kossoff's Strat.
Really? It was Paul Kossoff's Strat that had
the black one with the 2 humbuckers was Paul Kossoff's originally. I don't know if it came from Paul Kossoff with the 2 humbuckers in it, but that's my understanding. Pretty sure about that. I'm sure somebody would jump in and attack me if not. But as far as I know, that was the lower, that was Paul Kossoff's Strat. I think the main thing, one of the huge things we're talking about is Murray with the humbuckers. Like, it never sounded like a Strat. It could have been any kind of guitar. It wasn't. I think the guys we named, they're all so Stratty. Like there's some sort of sound, like whether we started talking off camera. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze in a minute, but excuse me, of like, you know, Robin Trower played in the middle pickup a lot. Like, so that's a very distinctive sound of Robin Trower. And then you think about Hendrix. Did he go to the bridge pickup that much? According to some lore, not that much. He would go to the neck in the middle. He didn't do the thing where you put the tone knob on the bridge. So he would play in the middle. For the bridge was a little too bright at times. So I think there's people who iconically sound like they're playing a Strat.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of our major sort of, thank you, Jason.
Yeah. And one of my regular contributors said, if you have time on this stream with Jeff, you should, well, actually he suggested we do a whole video about players that played neck and middle.
Wow. That's some pretty inside baseball for a video. Yeah.
I actually love Justin for that. He's a great resource for me. But he loves that level of guitar nerdery. Oh, a friend of mine from high school, Kim Neblezer's here saying hi, trying to help the algorithm. Thank you.
I saw Ian Moss's name come up from Cold Chisel from Australia. I only really know of them and him from my Australian students. And for them, they're the biggest rock band.
Oh, for
huge
them.
There. And of my Australian students that I've worked with over the years, he is the guy that the name came up a million times. And as an American, I'm like, I don't even know the band. I've never even heard of the band. Yeah. So that's the thing. So when I tell them that, they're like, what? You don't know Cold Chisel and you don't know Ian Moss? I'm like, no, it never made it here, you know? Right. And he's a really good guitar player. Yeah, he's really good. Yeah. So just a little hands up for the Cold Chisel. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. You took care of all that whole connection in Australia.
I took care of the whole continent just in one.
Just all right, we're halfway.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that I started using TrueFire because I was living in the mountains. Everybody's heard the story how many times now? But it's the truth, and actually, it ties back to 5-watt world, being a community, trying not to be Keith's place, trying to be a bigger thing. I actually could dial. Let me dial this. There. More TrueFire purple. The guys at TrueFire would dig that. So there's over 45,000 lessons in the library on TrueFire covering all styles and levels. There's tab, there's notation. What you got?
My TrueFire mouse pad.
Oh, get out of here. I don't have one of those.
Well, you didn't work with them for 18 years.
Well, thank you, Jeff. You're getting that in there. There's tab notation, jam tracks, slow motion, looping to help you tailor what chords to fit your learning styles. I'm currently this morning, I was back working on Jeff's Solo Explorer course, which I go back to periodically. And before that, I actually was having, and this is going to sound very backhanded, but way more fun than I thought I would, going through Joe Bonamassa's course. He does these little sides, and they're great little stories. I love these stories about how he wrote these tunes. So I think that's a lot of fun. Yeah, this is a little much.
I'm looking forward to the Eric Johnson course.
Yeah. And that's for people that didn't pre-order, that's October 1st. So boom, it's coming right up. They're using Grammy award-winning artists, top session players, world-renowned instructors like the Stratologist that's with us today. And content is the best in the business. I decided to sign up for an all-access pass long before I was using them so that I could kind of bounce around, because I have these very distinctly different interests, and I would take a jazz lesson and I would take a blues lesson, which probably describes why I'm neither of those things. Anyway, I set my iPad on the music every day. I set my iPad on the music stand. Actually, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably see these photos of the gear that I'm playing that morning, and then Jeff's picture on the iPad. He's up there looking at me like, how do you not know this yet, Keith? You can use the discount code 5watt35 to get 35% off courses. And there's a link in the description, and you'll be supporting 5-watt. If you use the link in the description, you'll be supporting 5-watt World, because I get a little affiliate noise from that, and they feel good about sponsoring the live stream and sponsoring the channel. They are my main sponsor. And at the same time, you're getting quality lessons, and you guys know that I'm always encouraging everybody to get lessons. So back to it. Okay, so back to the list.
I'll just chime in for a second,
please.
About TrueFire, and they're just great people. Really, just a great bunch of people. So we're I started there when it was us in a one room with an air conditioner we had to turn off while filming in Florida.
In Florida.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
like,
that was
yeah,
pretty
I'll come
funny.
film in November, maybe February.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so 18 years ago. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I had
I like to go
hair.
take really old lessons with you because you look so funny.
I look young. I know.
What do they call that? They call that young.
They call it young.
Yeah, that's right. They call that young. Sylvia Foster says, "What about is Kenny Wayne Shepherd too hyped?" Ooh, do you know him?
I've hung out with him a few times. I know once actually at NAM, backstage at NAM with me, Dave Grissom, and Chris Layton. Three of us. Then I had dinner with Chris, and
Chris Layton from
whatever. Whipper. I call him Whipper now.
You call him what?
Whipper.
That's his nickname.
Yeah. So I mean, Kenny was super cool. Really.
That's what I've always heard.
Yeah,
right.
And Brett Pop is quite good friends with him. He's just a super nice guy. He was super cool.
Great. Yeah, I actually
played his ass off.
Yeah. Well, and actually think he has that really interesting signature Strat with an ash body and that translucent sonic blue and block inlay. It's a really interesting guitar.
That was the NAMM it was released. So I played his prototype.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to check it out? I'm like, sure. So it was it's great,
Yeah. It's kind of a love child between a mid to late 60s jazz master and a Stratocaster.
Right. Yeah.
It's cool.
According to Brett, he doesn't play at all. He just works on his cars like a Jeff Beck kind of like he's like, oh, I got to play. Okay, we got a tour coming up. All right, let me just play. That's what Brett says. Yeah.
That's very Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
Brian Adams is mentioned here. Pazman says Brian Adams, but who's Brian Adams' lead guitar player? He's a Strat guy. Chris. Oh, so much good work. Chris. Through an AC30. I mean, basically kind of like doing a John Jorgensen kind of thing.
Chris P. Wheats and Raisins?
Who? Somebody's going to save us save me in the comments.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was just making a joke name there. I'm sorry. Pink Floyd live at Pompeii. That was huge for me. Saw it when I was in 8th grade in a midnight movie because my mom was totally awesome and let me go with my brother.
It's totally awesome.
Yeah. And I was like, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. So that was big for me. So yeah, Gilmore playing a Strat.
Yeah, I have a sister who's about 5 or 6 years younger than me. And first concert she ever saw was when I took her with me and my girlfriend went to see Billy Joel.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great show. Liberty DeVito on drums. I mean, it was a great show.
Yeah.
And his original band, like it was right after The Stranger came out. But the show after that we saw was Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she kind of like nudged me about half an hour in the show. She goes, so this is a rock concert. I'm like, yes, right. This is more like, anyway.
Well, yeah, my son's first concert was Roger Waters. I'm like, okay, not every show you're going to see is going to be like this, Wow. Like, this is pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, it's not every show is going to be like this. You're seeing, anyway.
Sylvia Foster says, what about Terry Kath? Now, I think of Terry Kath as playing a Tele Custom. Am I wrong? People educate me about Terry Kath from Chicago. Is he a Strat guy?
Some videos. I don't know. Not my thing. Like not my. I don't mean not my thing. I mean
Keith Scott.
Chicago falls.
I forget this, right? John Andre saves me. Keith Scott is the guitar player with Brian Adams. Amazing guitar player. So
yeah.
Nick Jardine says Robert Cray. There are any number of guys who are sort of just in blues.
Yeah.
Who I couldn't put on the list because they're just in blues. Two things. One, they always work. Mm-hmm. You want to have a life as a musician and you're not sure what genre to play in, you can always work as a blues musician. You're not gonna be playing, Carnegie Hall, but you will work. You absolutely will work. But at the same time, you're not going to probably have across the world. Yeah, Kurt Schaffenberg says Terry Kath was a Les Paul guy. So I actually got Terry Kath from the Les Paul video and the Strat video.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I think we got Ed King, same thing. Henry Cross says Kath is a Strat guy. So Victor Beebe from Hawaii wants to know if Robbie Robertson, who we had on the big list, is a super Strat guy, Strat or a super Strat guy. Technically, he'd be a super Strat guy.
Before Super Strats. Yeah,
Super
totally.
Strat before there were Super Strats, right?
Yeah.
He's playing on the last waltz. He's playing a Strat with a humbucker and just a neck pickup, no middle pickup. Yes,
I
the
think so.
copper-colored guitar.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
sure. Yeah. I actually just saw that photograph of him playing that guitar because Rick Dankos played a B15 during the last waltz. So, yeah, a late one. Okay, Tommy Bolin. Really? Strat only? I think of, again, like playing multiple guitars.
Right. It depends, I think, on what band he was in. Like with certainly Deep Purple.
Right. He's
playing
the
Strat, I think. But
later. Right.
Right. Then he would play the Strat that Bonamassa, I mean, Les Paul that Bonamassa owns, right? Then you have, doesn't
right?
he have, I think so, with American flag on the pick guard. Like there was a thing. Yeah, I think he's, and you get in trouble, I think, as influential and cool as he was. I would not say he was. That's a personal thing. That's like, for me, he was super influential. Like, somebody, not me personally, but I think people like, they just say, if we're talking general population of inspirational Strat guitar players, he's in the top 30 something. You know what I mean? He falls into that next sort of category, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is, since I'm the stratologist,
that's all that matters. Your opinion is why we have you here today.
Yeah.
Let's just throw that to the stratologist. Oh, we're done. Okay. That's the
okay.
That's the answer.
I know all.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Got another.
I have spoken.
Got another mic handout thrown in here. Jason Carter, Jason is completely off topic because of the guitar in your lap. He's ADHDing his way into. Is there more fret wire on a scalloped fret fingerboard?
No, they're just regular jumbo frets, and then you just have all that space underneath. And people often said to me when I was growing up, because I always wanted to get one. I got this not that long ago. It's the best guitar I've bought in ages. Tall frets are not the same as a scallop.
Sarcastic.
No. I just having the greatest time with this guitar. It was the most fun I've had in ages. Tall frets do not feel like, I use 6105s or 6100s. They don't feel like scallop chords. It's a different feel. Because, I mean, if you put your finger down,
right,
like it doesn't even come close to the wood at all.
Not remotely close.
Not even close. No.
You don't have any problems. How long does it take you to adjust between guitars? Like you just had
really quickly. It was surprising. The only thing that can be a little wonky, I could see live if I'm chording. You're gonna get that. Like, I mean, you can really, if you hit too hard. Yeah. So it could be a little weird. But I'm not, I'm not sure how much I'm going to gig with it. It's just fun, unless I do my Yngwie tribute show.
Yep. Nick Jardine wants to say Tom DeLonge, Blink 182. Definitely. I think just one humbucker in the bridge.
Yeah.
Had a signature guitar, surf green, etc. That's what it was, or is. That's what it is. So we had eliminated the folks that were playing modded ones, and really it was if you went down that road, there'd be so many people here that would be bumped by people playing super strats. I mean, how many spaces would Eddie take up on the list? Good God, Yeah. So that's really why we moved away from this. You could actually easily do a whole video on super strat guys. You could do that.
Right. We purposely decided not to talk about super.
We decided to not do that. And actually, I have to give him credit. John Beato had a big voice in that. He was like, no.
Oh, I would have.
That direction leads to madness.
I would have said the same. Like, no, that just opens up. Yeah.
We talked about it, right? Absolutely.
Then you're getting into like all the shredder guys, like somebody meant like then you get like George Lynch and Warren DeMartini and all those guys and Jake Eagley, like the Strat shaped guitars, but with humbuckers, and things like that.
Yeah. Somebody else mentioned Richard Thompson. There's a lot of people that have sort of an incredibly deeply loyal but not very broad following, I think. And I'd say Richard Thompson is one of those guys.
Yeah. I see the Strat as something for him. I mean, he's great, but I think the people who are really into him, he's a bit, I don't say cultish figure.
Yeah.
But just the same way like Mike Lando is, though a songwriter, people can go, what is a singer-songwriter? You know where I'm going with this. That like, he's got his very strong, he's not a broad, huge audience like the guys we've mentioned.
Right. You know, our one degree of separation from him is that he uses all David Barber pedals.
He does.
Yeah, he has this little board that fits into his case that's been like built to go. That's the shape of that pocket, you know, in a Strat case.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they're all those pedals. So
yeah.
JL Trem, John from Ohio, wants us to know that Terry Kath used a Strat on freeform guitar on Chicago's first record. It was all feedback. After that, he says Kath played an SG as well as a Telly often. So I think that's how I remember.
I kind of remember the Telly in my back of my head. Probably for the few videos I've seen of them, you know what I mean?
Telly custom. Yeah, Telly custom. So
yeah. Thank you, Frankie Rodriguez. I appreciate that.
What did Frankie say about you?
He said, no matter what Mr. McErlane plays, he always sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Well,
I appreciate that.
Frankie lives in West Spain, but he hasn't given me any restaurant recommendations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Frankie, come on, Frankie, reach out to me by email.
Ronnie Earl. Yeah. You know, sometimes by Ron. Yeah. Great. Yeah, totally. You know, great Strat sound, great player. I think we're
very stratty.
Yeah. We're talking about, you know, the guys, you know, the big guys, you know.
Right.
So there's guys that play Strats and sound great. Like, look, Uli Roth wasn't on the list. And for me, Uli Roth.
It's like on cue. Number one Brightonian says Uli Roth. Pretty good.
Oh, for me, he's, you know, one of the top Strat guys. So I'm doing my own Strat record thing coming up soon.
Yeah.
My top 10 Strat records, you know. And Uli's on that. Yeah, for sure.
There you go. Good.
Taken by Force, Virgin Killer, the poorly named Virgin Killer record.
Yeah, that didn't go through the marketing committee.
No, and then the original cover. Yeah, that's
There's the
it's
same
a Blind Faith record too. You're like, wow, guys, what are you thinking on that? You know?
Blind Faith record.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. Yeah. Well, you know, and again, Ron Wood, lots of different guitars.
Right. I just see him as a guy who played a bunch of different guitars.
Right.
And my favorite Ron Wood is his bass playing on the Jeff Beck group. That's my favorite Ron Wood. And the Faces.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Uli, I think we're caught up. Frankie, I cook better than I play guitar. Yeah, he's going to cook for us when we come to West Spain. West Spain is a big place. We have to talk, Frankie.
Hey, was Jimmy Vaughn on the list? I can't remember. Somebody just dropped.
Jimmy was not on the list. And actually, somebody did a really thoughtful comment about how there wouldn't have been a Stevie if there wasn't a Jimmy, and how Jimmy was the I think the person wrote a comment to the effect that that Jimi Hendrix was the big one for Stevie, and Buddy Guy was the big one for Jimmy, or something like that. It was like, it made it clear that there was sort of this division in the family that was generational between, I think they're like 8 or 9 years apart, maybe even more.
I don't remember. It took me a while to get Jimmy.
To get Jimmy?
Yep. Get it. Yeah. Because, you know, being like loving Stevie and I hear Jimmy, like, that guy can't play. And then you get a little older, you're like, you're an idiot. Like, you know, like, of course he can play. Sounds great. Yeah.
We're back to your own comments about the generational thing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, you know, for me, a great guitar player at that point was, you know, someone who could really, you know, Guitar Hero stuff. And then when I started listening to Jimmy Vaughn more, I was like, oh man, it's pretty cool stuff. You know?
Yeah. Well, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
age, you know, you're like, oh, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. I don't know any better. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know any better. So, Airfire says maybe another guitarist, but Ainsley Lister is up there for me. You know, there are a whole bunch of people that you could do a sub of this video that are people that are current. People like Matt Schofield, people like Ainsley Listers, people who really are champions of the Strat now. I did a video 3 years ago, maybe, called 10 Channels to Watch Right Now. And the video did not do well. It was very well meant, and I thought it was really well done. I thought it was very entertaining, but I was the one talking. So the kicker is those kind of videos don't typically do well, but it's too bad, because I think that to the extent that we all can help each other find other music, it's important.
Yeah.
Robert Nolan says Jeff Healey. Jeff Healey was actually in the big list. And probably would have been there bigger if he had lived longer.
Guy was good.
Okay, Nick Jardine he's invoked the Corey Wong. I mean, Corey basically has been very, very vocal about trying to be a young Nile Rodgers. to the point where his signature guitar is the body dimensions are based on the Hitmaker, the Now Rogers guitar. Yeah, it's thinner, it's smaller, which actually appeals to me as a guy who likes really light guitars. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how long it goes. The Corey Wong phenomenon. He's got a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast, but he's got so many, you know, in the fire. It's just huge. So Perry says Corey Wong is awesome.
Anson Thunderberg, yeah, absolutely, he's great, but you know, not a guitarist,
right? Steve Berry reminds us that the Strat rhythms from Randy Bachman from the Randy Bachman Turner Overdrive and from Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. He's right. Those are for me. That's my generation. Somebody asked really early. I've said it here before. I'm 63, so I was born in 1960. I was starting to listen to music in like really seriously at around 1969, 68. I mean, I have musical memories from before that, but I would ask for like Abbey Road, you know, at bedtime or something to be put on when I was trying to go to sleep. It was just to keep my dad from putting on the Robert Frost audio thing again that scared me as a child.
Right.
Yeah, that's another story. That's a different podcast topic.
I've seen Hiram Bullock's name come up a few times.
Yeah, just did again, Hiram Bullock.
Oh yeah. Did a session with him once years ago. Him and Omar Hakim and me. We're walking and going like,
you playing bass?
Yeah, no, I was tap dancing, trying not to sound like, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually, my friend called me to do sort of like Daniel Lanois kind of edge parts, you know. And then Hiram was there, and Will Lee on bass.
Hiram was supposed to play Hiram.
It was Will Lee on bass.
Will Lee.
Yeah, Will Lee, Omar Hakim,
all C-listers.
and me. And I was like 20, like late 20s. I'm like,
were you there with a Les Paul?
No, I was there with the Strat and the delay pedal, you know. So we gave us some good stuff. They used it. It was good.
That's great.
But of course you did. I'm like, we always have a joke of living in New York. I've met and worked with an inordinately large amount of famous people. Right. I had a job when I first moved to New York where they would rehearse Broadway shows and run movie script run-throughs. So the list is kind of ridiculous of who I've had encounters with just from being the guy working at the front desk.
Oh, okay.
You know, like Robert De Niro, Meryl Streep, and Pete Townsend, and you know when they're doing Who on Tommy on Broadway. You know, so this is a very, very funny that you know like you're like, well, oh yeah, I met him.
Like you said, it's very New York.
Yeah, it just you know like it's proximity, and then working in this place.
Yep.
And I was personable, and you know, so that's why
somebody said Adrian Belew. Absolutely, the King Crimson stuff.
Oh man, yeah.
Before he moved to Parker's.
Now, okay, is it a Strat when he plays? The thing about him that was so awesome was you're like, yes, it's very Stratty at times, but it could have been, you know, with all the effects and things like. So once again, it brings us Stevie Strat, David Gilmour Strat. You know what I mean? You know, yeah.
Yep.
Now I will say, and this will maybe
what you will say.
I will say, and we've discussed this, and I talked to Robin and I've discussed this. Like when Jeff Beck plays a Strat, he doesn't necessarily, in say like even from after like Guitar Shop, it's not, you don't notice it as a Strat, like in the traditional sense of like how Hendrix on that neck pickup.
Yeah. Or Stevie.
Bridge pickup, or Stevie, or so when to me, Jeff Beck, who is like my all-time favorite, when he plays a Strat, like I know it's a Strat because it's a Strat and the bar and the whole thing, but it doesn't sound, when he plays it doesn't sound like a Strat as we traditionally know it.
Yeah.
And I'll fight anyone on that. A little bit earlier, here, yeah, sure. On like
in the other direction. In the other direction, I've owned a couple of Eric Johnson Strats. Really wanted to like them, just didn't. I've never bonded with a Strat. And then I would watch these videos where he's playing some tune that we all expect him to play on a Strat on an SG on the bridge, and you're like, it sounds exactly like him. It sounds like he's playing a Strat on the bridge, and he's playing this other kind of guitar, this Gibson on the bridge.
Dover was a 335, right? Or Zapp was a 335. Yeah, so you're like, come on, like, so you know, yeah, absolutely. And he plays it in a Strat. You're like, yeah, that's not a Strat.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Right. So
another perfect
that
example.
can go either way. So absolutely can go either way. Yeah. Everybody's talking among themselves about some things. Guitarscapes by JT. Phil Emmanuel. Okay, I'm lost. Who's Phil Emmanuel?
I don't know.
I
Oh,
don't know.
Tommy Emmanuel's brother? Is it Tommy Emmanuel's brother?
You're gonna.
He was a great guitar player. It might be. I think that's because we don't live in Australia.
I was gonna say we're back to not Australia.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, if we're talking about Tommy's brother, who was passed away, if I understand correctly, was really great. I remember seeing a video of those two playing. You're like, oh, come on, really?
Yeah, right.
Like they're both that good. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Jackalee says Pete Downs, you get an honorable mention. He's been playing Strats for a long time, but it's mostly just not the weight. The impression I've had is it's mostly not the weight. He went back to playing Fender amps, which he played early in his career. He played Bassman and Tone Masters through Marshall cabs, which is a classic tone combination. And he went back to that. And when he did that, he went to Strats. But I wouldn't say, again, none of those tones are Stratty.
Yeah.
Perry jumped in to say James Calvin Wilsey, most impact from a single song on a Strat on Wicked Game.
Oh, well,
that's an interesting, fun category. Most impact on a single song, guitar tone.
That's on the top of the list. That's super high. I did a video on that. If you go to my channel, you see me talking about that. It's no, I mean, when I first heard that song, like many of us, I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, so I had to figure out what was going on. And no, that's great. That recording, that song is amazing. And that guitar playing on that, his guitar playing in general was great. I believe he passed away, but that was really big. So one quick thing, somebody asked, like, does anybody find the Strat ice picky a bridge on a Strat too ice picky? So yeah, that's why you put the tone knob on the bridge.
Yeah.
And you roll back some of the treble from the bridge.
Yeah.
So old trick that pretty much every guitar Strat guy does.
They just do them that way now.
Yeah.
Ryan's getting us here back to, I think you put it earlier, he's right. Bill Bramhall. Did I pronounce it Bramhall? The second should be mentioned. Strats and fuzz pedals. Think of him and Jimmy. Again, sort of as a sideman's gotten a lot of visibility, but I wouldn't say he's sort of any more broadly known than, say, Kenny Wayne Shepherd or Robert Cray.
Less so
even, than those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not I don't mean in any negative sense.
Just like less known.
I mean, like I saw him play in New York, and he's touring with Clapton. He played in New York, and there was like, not many people there. So I don't mean that,
Yeah.
You've got a great gig. And it's funny, people talk about Rory Gallagher, that is also very much a where you grew up. For Irish people, like he's a national hero, and I understand that, for guitar. I didn't find out about Rory Gallagher until my 30s, probably. He was like somebody like in a guitar magazine, like, who's that guy again? So I bought Irish Tour. I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty good, But in the States, like Gary Moore, you started to find out about Gary Moore on some of the solo records I did from the metal stuff and then the blues stuff. But he was always really much bigger in Europe. Seemingly like Michael Schenker, not a Strat guy, but metal guys knew about it. But in Europe, he did really, really well.
Yeah. Somebody asked, coming a little late, asking about Bonnie. Yeah, we had Bonnie in the list. Say Buddy Holly, Richie Valens. It's interesting. We had Richie Valens come up in the content and they said Buddy should be in the top 20, top 5. A lot of people said, but Richie Valens should have gotten an honorable mention because they kind of used the Strat in the same way. They're basically playing cowboy chords, just strumming an electric guitar, treating it like an acoustic guitar, which was what the front guy, the singer, did back then. So not a slam. It's just, it's what it is. Keith Majors is telling me that I should be looking at a hollow body Strat. I can't get past. I would have a hollow body Strat if it didn't have the F-hole.
Like the Eric Johnson thing. I just can't.
Eric, I gotta say, the only one that looks okay to me is the two-tone one because the burst kind of hides the F-hole.
I didn't love it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I didn't love it.
And actually, I saw him. So there's a guy that's on my Patreon group that I talk to periodically. And Bill has one, and he says it sounds great. And he has a couple of other guitars. But I saw Eric when that guitar came out on the Avia Musicom tour, and he played the first set. He played with that guitar, and it's like he and Rick Wheeler could not get it sorted. And then he went to like the Virginia copy in the second half for Avia Musicom. We had almost left at the break. The sound was so terrible, and it was perfect on the whole second half.
Like
I think all the original gear. It was just, he just nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
I just saw him the other night and he was great.
Oh, that's right. You and Jason went.
Yeah, he was really great.
Yeah. Oh,
I've seen him a lot. I saw him, at the Avia Musicom tour and stuff,
Wait, you saw the original Avia Music? How old are you?
30.
I'm paying it back.
He was in utero.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I've used enough of Jeff's stratologist time. His ultimate authority here.
Just real fast, like people are throwing out names. Of course, Jack Pearson, all these guys.
Yeah, all these amazing.
All these guys who play. I got friends who are guys who play strats who are just great players. We're just always talking about the most influential guys, the big names.
Right. That's what this was.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Jeff, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next week. What are we talking about next week?
Yes.
All right.
No, I'm down there. So I'll mention this again. I'm looking for a spot to do this. I'm coming down October 16th.
I'm your date for the show, right? For
Rick's show on the 17th. It's probably the last live thing he's going to do.
Ever?
He's kind of making noise like that might be it. Yep. That he might not do the live shows anymore.
I'm your date, right? I'm going with you.
Roman's coming with me.
Didn't you say you're taking me? Am I being pushed aside?
We should talk.
All right.
No, but
I'm being uninvited.
No. I'm sure there's lots of comp tickets. I'm sure Rick has no friends in New York.
I'll call him.
Yeah,
listen.
No, don't. No, I'll take care of it.
You take care of it.
I'll take care of it. All right.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Jeffrey.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
And around the 16th, I am working on coming up with a meetup location. Going to do a 5-Watt World Community meetup on the 16th. It will be in Manhattan. I'm staying at a hotel across from the Gramercy, but my impression is that the hotel bar is maybe too small since we wouldn't know what the number, and we don't want to have like an RSVP only kind of situation. That's not going to happen. So it's going to be a place where we could overflow, the hundreds of people. Kidding. I think. Although that would be cool. So October 16th down in the city, I will reach out here. I'll try to get this sorted out by next week live stream, and I'll let everybody in the wherever you want to come from. We'd love to have Victor there. So everybody. So yeah, that's Kevin says Madison Square Garden. That's a little uptown. I want to make it a really short walk from the hotel. That's the only reason we're not going to use the garden. Anyway. All right. Well, I'm going to have Jeff play us out again with that little clip. And I really appreciate everybody being here. Remember, this was to check out the link for TrueFire in the description. And until next time, thanks everybody for being a part of the 5-Watt world. I really appreciate it.